I stood at the edge of the school parking lot, my heart racing as I watched the horde of students pouring out of Riverton High, laughing and shoving each other playfully. The late afternoon sun streamed through the trees, casting long, slanted shadows across the blacktop. It was supposed to be a normal day, just another Thursday, but nothing felt normal about it. I could feel the bitterness rising in my throat like bile as I thought about the day's events. They called me the loser behind my back, making sure to amplify the laughter in the hall like it was their duty. With every shove, every whisper, it became more and more unbearable. I could comprehend why they found amusement in my struggles. I tucked a loose strand of dark hair behind my ear and took a deep breath to steady myself. "Just breathe, Clara," I muttered under my breath. My friend Mia had always said that the best advice came from within, and I was trying to hold on to that, but the fog of anger clouded my thoughts. Today was the day I would confront them, or at least it had to be. I couldn't let this go on any longer. The memories of every taunt, every post on social media that seemed to mock my very existence flooded my mind. I clenched my fists, feeling the sharp edges of my nails sink into my palms. One of the most persistent tormentors, Jenna, strutted across the parking lot with her usual group of followers, her laugh echoing above the rest. Her blonde hair shimmered in the sunlight as though it were made of gold, the perfect image of everything I resented. "Look who it is," she said, pointing right at me, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Queen of the losers, what a sight." Her friends snickered behind her, my chest tightened with fury and embarrassment. I fought back tears, feeling small and powerless. My whole life felt like a series of struggles. Financial hardships at home, my mother working multiple jobs to scrape by, and the relentless bullying I took at school. Every day was a battle, and I had grown weary of fighting a war that seemed never-ending and never rewarding. But not anymore, I had had enough. "What are you staring at?" one of Jenna's sidekicks sneered, stepping forward. Her name was Kelsey, and she had always been a little too eager to join in on the cruelty. "You think you belong here, Clara? You do not fit the mold." The mocking tone in her voice suffocated me, but instead of shrinking back, I felt a rush of defiance. I gathered my courage and stepped forward, ready to say something, anything that might stop this cycle of humiliation. "Why do you bother me, Kelsey?" I said, forcing out the words even as my voice trembled. "I do not know why you think it is okay to treat people like this. What do you get out of it?" "Oh, please, as if you do not know," Jenna shot back, flipping her hair over her shoulder dramatically. "You're just jealous that you can't hang out with us." The laughter that followed stung, but something inside me ignited. Instead of cowering, I pointed a shaking finger at Jenna. "Jealous? You think I want your life? You think I want to be mean just to fit in?" My pulse raced. "You're the one who needs validation, not me." Jenna raised an eyebrow, clearly taken aback by my sudden courage. "Wow, look at you, finally standing up. But guess what? It is too little too late. You really think you could change anything?" She leaned in, her expression mocking and taunting. I took a deep breath, the adrenaline flooding my veins, flooding my senses. "I do not need to change anything. You are the one who needs to scrutinize your own life, Jenna. You think you are perfect, but you are dragging everyone around you into this pit of misery." "Whoa, did the loser just call me out?" Jenna's voice dripped with feigned surprise, but I could see there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. It was a crack in her carefully painted facade. "I mean, good for you, but it is not going to stop the inevitable." "The inevitable?" I exclaimed incredulously. "You do not seem to understand that words have power, and one day you are going to wake up all alone. This charade is going to crumble." "Is that a threat?" Kelsey asked, narrowing her eyes, crossing her arms. "You think you can intimidate us?" Their laughter rang hollow now, but I held my ground. I could feel the heat in my cheeks burning, my heart pounding wildly in my chest. Not intimidation, just a fact. I took a step back, letting their chaotic energy wash over me like a tidal wave. "But I am done being the punching bag. Do what you want, but I will no longer stand by." Jenna shrugged, turning to her friends. "Whatever, just remember who is at the top. You may want to pick your battles carefully, loser." They turned their backs on me, the laughter piling like bricks at my feet, but I felt strangely light. Buoyed by adrenaline, a strange satisfaction coursed through me. I had said what I needed to, even if it didn't change anything right now. "I can do this," I thought as I walked away, each step feeling lighter than the last. I just needed to come up with a plan. They were not going to get away with this forever. They might have my lunch money, but I was not going to let them take my spirit. I walked more briskly away from the school, my thoughts swirling like leaves in a storm. My mind moved quickly, planning my next steps. What could I do? How could I finally have the upper hand? Maybe if I exposed something about Jenna or Kelsey, I could turn the tide. My heart raced at the thought, the idea filling me with both dread and excitement. I always considered myself a decent person, but the way Jenna treated me made me think that hitting back might be the only solution left. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease creeping into my thoughts. This was going to take patience, strategic planning, and lots of quiet observation. I would need to be smart about it, no rash decisions. Walking into my home felt different tonight. The apartment was filled with a warm focus. My mom would be working late again, and I would have the space to think. I opened our creaky front door quietly, stepping inside the comforting chaos of the place. The crowded entryway with shoes strewn about, the flickering light overhead casting shadows on the wall, it felt strangely welcoming against the storm brewing within me. This was my sanctuary, a nest of creativity and safety amidst all the chaos. I kicked off my shoes and padded my way toward the small kitchen, the familiar scent of maple syrup lingering from breakfast wafting in the air. I was grateful for the sweet aroma, something that always reminded me of the good moments in life, pushing back the anxiety building inside of me. I grabbed a cold bottle of water from the fridge and took a long sip, the crispness refreshing against the heat of my anger. As I leaned against the counter, I let the events of the day sink in. Why do I let them get to me? I whispered aloud, gripping my water bottle tightly. Why do I care so much? But deep down, I knew why. I wanted to belong, to be liked, but that had always seemed so impossible, like trying to catch the wind. I twirled my hair around my finger absent-mindedly, my thoughts darting back to Jenna and her friends. They seemed so invincible, so sure of themselves, like they had everything figured out. And I was just Clara Bassett, the girl who could not even find a group of friends to call my own. Clara, the voice came from the hallway, a sharp reminder that I was not as alone as I sometimes felt. It was my little brother Sam, his wide eyes peeking out from around the corner. Are you home yet? I am right here, buddy, I replied, forcing a smile to brighten my mood. How was your day? Normal, I guess. We did more math, he said, shuffling toward me. Sam was 10 with a shock of curly hair and a face full of freckles that seemed to dance when he talked, even if it was about math and numbers. I had to smile. His spirit was like a bright light in the dark tunnel I seemed to be in. Did you learn anything new? I asked, dropping down to his level, the pungent scent of my strong detergent filling my senses alongside his boyish energy. We did fractions, he announced, puffing his chest out. I understand it now. Fractions are tough. Good job, I said, ruffling his hair playfully, the tension slipping away for a moment. But even as I laughed, the fog of anger still lingered in the corners of my mind, gnawing at my resolve. Are you okay? He asked, tilting his head to the side, eyes wide. You seemed different. His innocent observation jolted me. How could I let my frustrations infect his carefree spirit? He did not deserve that. Yeah, bud, just dealing with some stuff at school. I dragged in a breath, willing myself to stay calm as I thought about tonight's plan to gather more dirt on my bullies. Sam nodded sagely, always so mature for his age. Yeah, people can be mean. Remember in 4th grade when that kid called me dumb? I nodded, recalling how fiercely I had defended him that day, finding solace in the memory. But you came through, Clara. You made sure he apologized. He reminded me, his eyes sparkling. Just like I will do for you, sister. I laughed lightly, his unyielding loyalty warming my heart. Just then the soft chime of the clock echoed through the apartment, reminding me how fast the hours passed. I think I need to make some dinner now, okay? Want to help? Sure, Sam said, bouncing with enthusiasm. Together, we stepped into the small kitchen, filled with bright sunlight filtering through the small window. As I took out the spaghetti noodles, I tried pushing aside the intimidating thoughts of revenge that still lingered in my head. I quickly focused on my brother, guiding him through the simple recipe, the way his enthusiasm for cooking mirrored my own. See, just like this, I said, showing him how to swirl the spaghetti in one smooth motion, the twirling pasta glistening in the light. Starving myself of food while feasting on thoughts of revenge didn't feel right. Smell that? He asked, grinning as he took in the steam rising from the pot. I love spaghetti. Me too, buddy. I realized how fleeting these moments felt. Somewhere inside, I hoped to channel the unjust anger into something productive, something that could help Sam in the future. I will stand up for myself, and for you too, I whispered to myself, yet the walls of our apartment began to echo the roar of my heart. Even as I tried to hold on to the laughter of my brother, my mind drifted back to Jenna and her voice. This wouldn't be the end, it was just the beginning. I would turn my struggles and experience into fuel, ready to face whatever lay ahead. A bigger plan was brewing within me, a blueprint for the revenge that I would execute, and the thought was exhilarating. I just needed time to sit with it, time to plot, time to shift the scales back in my favor. The air in the small diner hung thick with the scent of grease and sugar. A flickering neon sign outside cast a soft blue glow through the dusty windows, illuminating the worn wooden tables and vinyl booths. I slid into the corner booth, where the cracked leather welcomed me with a faint creak as I settled against the cool surface. This was my hideaway, a momentary respite from the storm brewing inside my soul. Chatter of customers filled the space, blending into a distant hum that contrasted sharply with the chaos raging within me. As I pulled out my phone, my heart raced like the pulse of a war drum. Each notification chime sent a fresh wave of frustration crashing over me, a reminder of what I had lost and what I was determining to reclaim. I opened my messages, scanning for any sign of life from Kelsey or Jade, my best friends turned traitors. There it was, a text from Kelsey sent a week ago. Where have you been? We miss you. Come back. The words were like razor blades, slicing through what little remained of my trust. Miss me? Is that why you took my place on the team? I muttered under my breath, anger rising like bile in my throat. I tossed my phone onto the table, the screen lighting up with a picture of Kelsey and Jade, all smiles and matching cheerleader uniforms. I could almost hear their laughter, fake and hollow, punctuated by the sharp edges of betrayal. I was the one who had given them everything, my loyalty, my support, only for them to stab me in the back as they tried to steal my thunder. Can I get you something to drink? The waitress's voice snapped me back from the edge of my dark thoughts. She was older, with tired eyes that spoke of years spent on her feet. Her apron was stained and her hair was pulled back into a tight bun that sat precariously on the top of her head. Just water, please, I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. The waitress nodded and shuffled away, leaving me in my bubble of funk. My thoughts began to spiral again, envisioning a revenge plan that would make those two regret ever crossing me. I had to think this through. The betrayal still stung, and while I knew I wanted payback, there had to be a method to my madness. Should I sabotage their cheerleading practices? Maybe something more subtle, playing on their insecurities. My mind buzzed with ideas, each one more tantalizing than the last. I envisioned Kelsey's face crumbling, Jade's laughter frozen into horror. The prospect of their downfall filled me with a thrilling desire, igniting a spark of hope. "What's up with you? You look like you just bit into a sour lemon." The voice cut through my thoughts as I lifted my head to see Sam, the local troublemaker, striding towards me. Sam had always been the kind of guy who thrived on chaos, and today was no different. His tousled dark hair fell loosely over his forehead, and his signature leather jacket glinted under the diner lights. There was a mischief in his eyes that both attracted and repelled me. "Nice to see you too, Sam," I replied, unable to suppress a smirk, "just doing some deep thinking." He plopped down across from me, leaning forward as his elbows rested on the table, hands clasped. "Deep on what, girls? Sports, how to perfect that frown." He flashed me one of his classic devil-may-care grins, and even in the midst of everything swirling around me, it was hard not to feel a flicker of warmth. "I might need a little more than just a frown to get my point across," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Kelsey and Jade just decided my life was their plaything. You know, the usual high school drama." He raised an eyebrow, a slow grin spreading across his face as if he could already see the wheels turning in my mind. "Sounds like you need a plan, Clara. You want revenge, yeah? Just so happens that I'm an expert in turning tables. Consider me your accomplice." I studied him, weighing his words carefully. "And what's in it for you? Let's just say I enjoy a good show. Seeing those two princesses get knocked off their thrones might just be the highlight of my year." His gaze was sharp, and for a moment, a flicker of my original plan danced before me. I could see it so clearly, the glimmer of revenge lighting up the dull ache in my chest. "What do you have in mind?" I asked, a cautious curiosity mingling with my anger. He leaned back in the booth, a thoughtful expression across his face. "How about we start by giving them a taste of their own medicine? We could create a little chaos. Maybe spread some rumors, make them paranoid." My eyes sparkled at the suggestion. "What kind of rumors?" "Something juicy, something that pokes at the cracks in their perfect little world. We could take pictures and spin them. Accuse Kelsey of being too friendly with the coach, let the whispers fly." "People love drama," he said, his excitement palpable. I snorted, considering the possibilities. "I can see it now, Kelsey Bassett, coach's pet. It's like a cheesy headline from the tabloids. But what about Jade? She thrives off the sympathy card. Why not hit harder?" Sam's eyes gleamed with something darker, ambition maybe. "That's the spirit. We could exaggerate a little scandal about how Jade only got on the squad because of her father sponsoring the school. Let's see how fast the tables turn when they get a taste of betrayal." The idea hung in the air, thick with tension, electrifying my very essence. "I like this, Sam, but I want to be careful. This can't backfire on me." "Wouldn't dream of letting it backfire on you, Clara. You and I have the same agenda. We're just on different sides of the chessboard." I contemplated his words, realizing that the bubbling plan of vengeance was starting to take shape. Although uncertainty nagged at my conscience, I felt invigorated by taking the initiative for a change. Sam and I were walking a fine line, and every step could lead to something monumental. Just then the waitress returned, placing a glass of water in front of me, the condensation glistening on the cold surface. I absent-mindedly reached for the glass, feeling the chill seep into my fingertips. "Thanks," I murmured, my mind still swirling with images of Kelsey and Jade, their carefree laughter morphing into cries of disbelief, shattered by the truth I was about to unleash. Sam took a swig of his soda, watching me carefully, clearly weighing my next move. "So what's the first step?" blabbed to the girls in the locker room. "Let the whispers grow and spread. Let's get some evidence first," I said, excitement building as I spoke. "We need something tangible to use, something that'll make them second-guess everything they thought they knew. I need to investigate their lives a bit more, see what I can twist. They've been hanging out at Jerry's pool hall after practice. Maybe I can catch them off guard." Sam leaned in, eyes sparkling with mischief. "You want me to come with you for backup? If you need to cause a scene, I'm your guy." "No. This will be my mission. I need to do this myself. I'll strike when they least expect it. Just stay on alert, and when the moment comes, I'll call you." A smirk played on his lips. "Sounds good, just don't do anything crazy while you're in there. If I'm not around, you might just end up cleaning the mess." I shoved his shoulder playfully, immediately reminded how unbelievably easy it was to fall into this rhythm with Sam. "Don't worry, I'll be smart. I've got this under control." As we talked, I felt hope bubbling inside me. The shadow of betrayal still curled around me like smoke, but perhaps the dawn was peeking through. I could feel a deeper determination growing, fueled by my desire for revenge. This plan would cleanse me of the poison swirling through me. "Remember," Sam said, his tone shifting to something more serious, "you can't back down. You need this, and I'll be right here waiting for you to give me the signal." I nodded, the weight of our shared conspiracy heavy on my shoulders but exhilarating at the same time. "I won't back down, Sam, you'll see." With that, tension solidified into a bond, and the rest of the diner faded away as our scheme took root. A lingering taste of coffee, the smell of greasy fries and grilled sandwiches, and the bustle of laughter filled the air in that moment. It was time to gather the pieces of this story. My story, and weave it into something entirely new, a narrative where I called the shots. And Kelsey and Jade were the ones who felt the sting of betrayal. The sound of rain pattering against my window was a constant reminder of the darkness that loomed outside, a mirror to the turmoil inside me. My breathing came in quick bursts, almost as if I could feel the lingering adrenaline from my confrontation with Leela still coursing through my veins. It was a storm, not just of weather but of emotions, swirling chaotically like my thoughts. I had spent the last few days plotting, gathering information, and deciding how best to make my move against Leela and Sarah. This was going to be my moment, my sweet taste of revenge, but only if I executed my plan flawlessly. As I paced the small confines of my room, thoughts whirled around like leaves in the wind. I could still hear Leela's laughter, the way it echoed through the cafeteria as she had paraded around, flaunting her perfect life and belittling me in front of everyone. I clenched my fists, nails biting into my palms as anger surged through me. There was a fire igniting in my chest, a fierce determination to not let her win. "Clara, are you in there?" My mother's voice broke through the haze of my thoughts. She always seemed to know when something was wrong, even if I had a way of behaving like everything was fine. But this time I had no intention of letting her in. I was on a mission, and the only company I needed was my thoughts and my plans. "Yeah, I'll be down in a minute," I called out, forcing an upbeat tone into my voice. I didn't want her to worry. I quickly glanced around my room, searching for any distraction until my phone buzzed with a message from my best friend Hannah. I grabbed my phone, feeling its cool surface against my palms as I quickly typed back, "Hannah, what's going on? You've been kind of off lately. Is it about Leela?" I felt my heart race again. It was so clear that everyone could see the weight on my shoulders, but I needed to handle this myself. "Clara, I'm fine, just trying to plan for the upcoming school dance. You know how crazy the planning gets." After some time, the response came almost instantly. "Hannah, you are definitely hiding something. You can tell me, I'm here for you." For a brief moment, the weight lightened. I knew I could tell her, but would she truly understand? I pressed down my need to confess and replied instead, "Clara, really, Han, it's nothing. I promise, let's just focus on the dance." I tossed my phone onto the bed, the message bubble still haunting me. The rain had started to fall heavier, and I could hear the distant rumbling of thunder. It reminded me of the storm brewing inside of me, threatening to unleash at any moment. I looked back at my reflection in the mirror for a long moment, searching for the resolve I needed. My dark hair hung loosely, framing my pale face as I took a deep breath. Today was the day I would confront Leela in a way that she would never see coming. The school day felt endless. With each class dragging on, I felt like I was trapped in a slow-motion reel of glimpses of Leela chatting animatedly with her minions. She was secure in her popularity, her laughter bouncing off every corner and echoing through the hallways like a taunting melody. The smell of maple syrup wafted through the cafeteria, mingling with the chatter of students. As I sat at my usual corner table with Hannah, I could barely stomach the sight of Leela and Sarah flaunting their gold-dusted glamour. "You sure you're okay, Clara?" Hannah asked, concern etched across her features. Her blonde hair fell over her blue eyes, and I could see the genuine concern brewing. "Yeah, really," I said, but I could feel the tension in my voice betraying my bravado's tones. Hannah took her lunch tray and moved closer to me, her voice low but firm. "I'm worried about you. You know you can trust me, right?" I could feel the heat of her sincerity. "I appreciate it, but I really am fine. We're going to focus on the dance, right? It's going to be amazing." "Right," she replied, but there was an edge of uncertainty in her tone. "Just know that whatever you're going through, I am always here." As she fell back into our discussion about garish cup designs and dramatic dress colors, my eyes drifted back to Leela. I could see her whispering something to Sarah, both of them breaking into fits of laughter, flickering their gaze in my direction as though the world were theirs to mock. "Okay, enough of this," I murmured under my breath, a resolve settling deep within me. I had to find a way to strike back, but the question was how without bringing harm to myself. It had to be clever, unexpected. They needed to be caught off guard. "Hannah," I leaned closer, lowering my voice until only she could hear. "What if we burned their plans, the dance, the whole thing?" She looked at me, her eyebrows raised. "What do you mean? What if we made our own dance plans, something that would overshadow theirs?" I could feel my heart race as the idea bubbled forth like a geyser. Something extravagant in a secret location, something Leela could never upstage. Hannah pursed her lips, considering the idea seriously. "Clara, we're talking about going against Leela. She will not take that lightly, you have to know that." "I realize that, but it will be amazing. We will get everything we need. Everybody will talk about us instead. It will be perfect." She hesitated, the gears turning in her mind. "So you want to make Leela jealous?" "Exactly. If we could make a big deal about it, make it something that people would not want to miss." Hannah smiled cautiously. "You know, it actually could work, but it will take a lot of effort and we will need a team. Who would help us?" I chuckled, my plan growing ever bolder in my mind. "I know just the team." After lunch, I braved the hallway where the noise became almost deafening, students bustling about, laughter ringing in my ears like high-pitched sirens. I navigated through with purpose until I reached the art room where my friends Mia and Alex spent most of their time. They had a flair for creativity that I desperately needed. I pushed open the door, the scraping of metal against the floor slicing through the noise of chatter outside. The room smelled of paint, the vivid colors splattered everywhere like the chaos waiting to uncork within me. "Mia, Alex," I called, my voice clearer now. They looked up from their tables, paintbrushes in hand, smeared with colors like war paint. "What's up, Clara?" Mia asked, her dark curls bouncing as she leaned forward. "I need your help," I stated, determination lacing my voice. Alex's grin was wide and he flicked the paint off his brushes. "We are in. What's the target?" I explained my plan, and I could see their eyes light up with excitement. The more I spoke, the more I felt my own enthusiasm take flight. Together we crafted ideas, bouncing off one another, enhancing the vision that was wildly spinning through my mind. So we can rent a hall, Mia suggested, twirling a paintbrush like a baton. But we need to make it fabulous. Sarah and Leela will need to see that we are better than them. And if we add some dramatic lighting, maybe a live band, Alex jumped in with infectious energy. We will blow them out of the water. The plans came together effortlessly. We brainstormed flower arrangements, theme colors, and even exotic snacks that would ripple with excitement through the halls of Riverton High. As the class bell rang, marking the end of our brainstorming session, I felt a buzzing sensation that filled me with hope. Okay, let's meet after school and get to work on this, I announced, and as I saw their nods of agreement, I realized how satisfying this was, each moment filled with the thrill of revenge inching closer and closer. After school, we gathered at my house, the rain continuing to patter against the windows, creating a serene backdrop to our chaotic and enthusiastic planning session. The smell of popcorn wafted through the air, a rare treat as we spread across my living room floor, colorful papers and sketches sprawling around us. This is going to be awesome, Mia said as she poured the popcorn into a bowl, watching me with a gleam in her eye. Leela will not know what hit her. Right. My heart swelled as I all but floated on the excitement of our newly blossomed plans. We are going to make this so spectacular that she won't even get a chance to retaliate. As the night wore on, laughter erupted amidst the frenzy of planning. We laughed and joked, painting vivid dreams of us becoming the queens of the dance while Leela and Sarah, clutching their plans, would stand helplessly watching from the sidelines. Simmering beneath all the fun, however, was a fierce current of determination. I wasn't just planning a dance, I was finally taking back my power. The more we worked, the more I felt the chains of Leela's mockery break away. With every sketch and every laugh shared among friends, I was inching closer to the moment when I would face her again, only this time the battle would be on my terms, my rules. And as the final remnants of day slipped away, I looked around me and breathed deeply, filling my lungs with the scent of our ambition. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new rivalries, and with it, the delicious taste of revenge hovering just within reach. Tonight, though, I slept knowing that my plan was taking shape with every passing minute, and the finish line was hovering ahead like a magical cloud that promised delight. Revenge was sweeter when you had a plan, and my heart danced at the thought of that sweetness finally being mine. To savor the forest loomed like a shadowy fortress around me, the sharp scent of pine filling my lungs as I trudged through the underbrush. My heart raced with anticipation, a strange mix of dread and exhilaration igniting the pit of my stomach. This was it. The moment I had been building toward since that day everything fell apart. The day I was torn from my normal life, the day of betrayal. Walking toward the clearing where I found them, where I lost everything, the echoes of my footsteps seemed to mock me, reminding me of the unforgiving memories buried beneath the leaves. Are you sure you want to go through with this? A voice broke through the thick silence. It was Jade, my best friend since childhood, her brow furrowed with concern as she tried to catch up with my hurried pace. I mean, this is pretty intense, Clara. I paused, turning to face her. Jade's fair hair fluttered in the wind, catching the light just enough to make her look ethereal like some guardian angel. But I knew better. She was solid, fierce even, and right then I needed that. Jade, they have to pay, I said, my voice steady, unwavering despite the whirlwind of thoughts clawing at me from the inside. They shattered my life, my trust. I can't just let that go. Jade leaned against a tree, crossing her arms tightly over her chest, trapping the fight within her. I get that, but we're talking about the Hart brothers here. They're not just anybody. You sure you want to put us in their sights? You know about their connections, right? This could end badly. I felt a sharp edge of anger flare within me. Do you think I care about their connections? My voice rose, vibrating with the weight of my emotions. They think they own this town, but they don't own me. I will not let them walk away without consequences. I turned my back to her, my pulse pounding in my ears, blocking out the sensible voice that told me to turn back, to walk away from this chaos I was stirring. Clara, please, Jade called after me, but I pressed on. The woods felt like a suffocating embrace as I pushed through the dense foliage. I could almost hear the ominous rustling of branches spelling out warnings, but my mind was set. A flash of that moment draped itself over my thoughts, the laughter, the glee of a perfect day shattered by betrayal. Brian Hart and his brother Tyler had toyed with my emotions, dragged me into a web of confusion and left me to drown in it. They thought they could rise above all else, but they never considered how deep my hurt ran. As I finally reached the clearing, I stopped dead in my tracks. The air was electric, filled with an unspoken tension as I surveyed the remnants of the hideout where Brian and Tyler played with the hearts of innocent girls. Sunlight streamed through the treetops, casting a soft glow over the ground, yet it did nothing to warm the chill crawling up my spine. A feeling of bitter nostalgia swept through me, the laughter that had once danced amidst the trees now replaced by ghosts of betrayal. Jade caught up, her breath hitching as she took in the scene. Wow, Clara, this place, it's like a shrine to your heart's destruction. The humor was hollow, each word laced with irony. Exactly, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. This is where it all fell apart. I bent to the ground, tracing the patterns in the dirt, the very spot where Brian first kissed me, where everything started to turn dark. What's it going to take for you to understand my need for justice? They can't just walk away from what they've done to my life. The reverberation of my own words settled heavily in the air around us like the aftermath of a stone thrown into a still pond. Jade regarded me, a mixture of fear and something else. Was it admiration? I understand, but revenge, it can consume you, Clara. I've seen it before. Revenge is all I have left, I said, and somehow I felt stronger, more resolute. I could not allow fear to dictate my choices. I had dulled that voice inside me for too long. Tonight is the night we set things right. Jade's shoulders slumped, the tension pouring from her as she rubbed her arms as if the chilly breeze had bitten her. Fine, what's the plan then? As I pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket, I felt the rush of adrenaline course through me. I had spent days planning, nights dreaming of this moment. Okay, listen, I need you to help me get Brian to come here. I figured out the perfect bait. He'll be with his friends at the lake tonight, and I overheard them talking about how they were planning to meet up at the old hangout. We can catch them off guard. Are you really sure about this? Jade asked, taking the paper and looking it over. It looks. I don't know, it looks like a lot. I nodded, but internally my heart raced. Trust me, this will work. I just need you to flirt with Tyler a little, keep him distracted while I confront Brian. Jade's eyes widened. Flirt? You seriously think I can just do that? Why not? I shrugged. You are way prettier than I ever was, and you know how dumb boys can get. Just keep him busy while I talk to Brian. It will be quick, in and out. All right, I guess I can try, Jade said, her disappointment easing a little. Just be careful, okay? I don't want you getting hurt. I nodded, but the truth was the fear of getting hurt paled in comparison to the fear of staying stagnant while they continued to walk free, untouchable. We made our way out of the clearing and toward the lake, the sun dipping low in the sky, heralding the twilight hour. A canopy of stars began to prick the darkening sky as we neared the gathering place, the sounds of laughter floating to us like a siren call. My stomach twisted. It was a nostalgia that threatened to screw my insides. How was it possible that I used to be part of this world? How had I allowed myself to be manipulated so easily? With humiliation coursing through my veins, I steeled myself to move forward. There they are, Jade pointed quietly, her expression tightening as I caught sight of them. The Hart brothers, their easy laughter ringing out, joined by a couple of the other guys from school. Brian was leaning back on a rock, his hair tousled by the wind, and Tyler was sprawled out, making jokes that made the others roar with laughter. Okay, I have to start now, I whispered, inhaling deeply to ground myself before stepping out into the open. My heart thudded painfully against my ribs as I neared them, bravely walking through the thick grass that bordered the shoreline. Hey, guys. I called out casually, hoping to mask the wavering in my voice. Brian's head snapped toward me, and for a moment surprise registered in his features before it shifted into something playful and cocky. Well, look who decided to join our party. Clara, Tyler added with an over-exaggerated wink. How nice of you to come, I must say we've been waiting. Yup, just here to hang out, I said, forcing a smile even as my insides twisted in anger. You know, just thought I'd crash the fun. Brian stepped forward, the playful glimmer in his eyes dimming. I didn't think you would come back around after everything. I smirked, holding my head high. You thought wrong, Brian. Just because you moved on doesn't mean I have to. The firelight danced in their eyes as they exchanged sidelong glances, and I could feel the weight of my next words accumulating in the back of my throat. I needed to steer this where I wanted it to go. Aren't you going to introduce me to your friends? Yeah, of course. Tyler jumped in, his voice filled with feigned enthusiasm. This here is Matt and Jason, by the way. They knew you back when you were Miss Perfect. Yeah, we knew you as the girl who fell for the oldest trick in the book, Matt sneered, barely able to disguise his condescension. And look how you came running back to me, Clara, Brian added mockingly. I never thought you would be so desperate. Anger boiled in my chest, rising like bile. I had to keep my cool. Desperate, no. I came because I have something to say. You have our attention, Jason replied, his tone condescending. This isn't going to take long. I stood a little taller, bravely meeting Brian's gaze. You think you can just toy with people's feelings and get off scot-free? The others froze, the laughter dying in their throats. You think it's funny to lead someone on and then watch them break? What are you talking about? Brian's confidence faltered for the briefest moment. I could feel Jade's presence behind me, positioned perfectly as my backup, a hidden weapon ready to spring into action. You know exactly what I'm talking about, I spat. Those sweet words you whispered, the stolen moments you called just between us. You knew you were using me as your little plaything. That was ages ago, Brian shrugged as if to brush it off, but the edge in my voice cut deeper than I expected. I didn't mean for that to happen, didn't mean for it to happen. The fire within ignited further. Do you know how hard you made my life? Do you have any idea what I went through? It ripped me apart. Come on, Clara, Tyler chimed in with a sinister smirk. You knew better than to fall for a heart. That's the real issue, I pressed forward, feeling unstoppable. I was naive, sure, I thought I could trust you, but you turned everything upside down without a second thought. Brian narrowed his eyes. What do you want from me? I took a breath, the gravity of my own plan weighing heavily on me. What I want is for you to understand, this isn't just going to slip past you. What will happen tonight will make you remember. You may think you are untouchable, but you are not. I have friends that have your back, and I will make sure everyone knows who you really are. This is just the beginning of your reckoning. Brian stepped forward, anger bleeding through his facade. You think you could bring me down? You're just a girl. Jade pivoted subtly behind me, ready to spring into action as I held my ground, adrenaline surging. No, Brian, I'm not just a girl. I'm a girl who knows, and that makes me dangerous. Okay, let's see how far this goes, he scoffed. Then with a hiss of laughter that resonated off the trees, he waved his hand dismissively. Bring it. What can you possibly do to hurt me? I met his defiance, a cold shadow creeping along the edges of my bravery, embracing the uncertainty of my heart. You'll find out soon enough, Brian. Just remember, karma has a funny way of catching up with people like you. With that, I turned with a confidence I hardly felt, signaling Jade to follow. The urgency pulling me away from that clearing, away from their taunting faces, felt liberating. As we walked back through the forest, the sounds of their laughter fading behind us, I felt the weight of a burgeoning victory lift from my shoulders. Clara, are you sure they will even care? Jade asked quietly, glancing back toward the darkness. I mean, they seem pretty untouchable. I looked her way, a fierce light igniting in my chest. They may seem untouchable, Jade, but that is their greatest weakness. Everyone has a breaking point, and tonight I've struck the first match. The short distance back to my house felt too long as I replayed the confrontation in my head. The hatred I felt for Brian fueled my stride, igniting plans for what was to come, plans for the final reckoning. I could almost taste the justice on the tip of my tongue, and I knew the night was just beginning. Each breath held anticipation. Revenge was close, and it would be mine. The morning light filtered through the window, casting a soft glow across my small bedroom. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the worn wooden floor, my heart racing. Today was the day. Everything I had waited for, hoped for, and planned would finally come together. The gleaming dark blue dress hung in the closet, and my heart thrummed with both excitement and dread at the thought of what lay ahead. I could hear my mom bustling around in the kitchen, the rich smell of pancakes wafting down the hallway. Clara, breakfast is ready, she called, her cheery voice bringing me back to reality. I took a deep breath, pushing down the nerves swirling in my stomach. I'll be right down, I shouted back, forcing a smile as I thought about what I had to do today. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, carefully plotting my revenge against Ben. I remembered every time he had laughed at me, every time he had spread rumors that cut deeper than any blade. He had made my life a living nightmare, and today I would make sure he would remember it forever. As I walked to the kitchen, I tried to mask my anxiety. Mom looked up from the stove, flipping pancakes with a serene smile. You look different today, Clara. Something special on your mind? She asked as she placed a golden, fluffy pancake on a plate. I shrugged, trying to keep my emotions under control. Just excited about the dance tonight, I replied, my heart racing as the thought of Ben crossed my mind. You know, honey, you have to enjoy these moments. High school is fleeting, she chimed in, her eyes sparkling with nostalgia. My stomach twisted slightly. She had no idea how fleeting those moments could turn into hell. I know, Mom. I will, I replied, forcing a smile, shoving a piece of pancake into my mouth and trying to drown down the resentment. As I descended the stairs later, dressed in that eye-catching dress, my confidence began to seep away in light of the current day's impending events. The blue fabric hugged my body, a stark contrast to the deeper, darker emotions swirling within me. I glanced in the hallway mirror, testing a smile. I can do this, I murmured to myself, my fists clenched almost to the point of pain. I could hear the faint buzz of my phone vibrating on my desk. The screen flashed Dennis's name and my heart leaped. Outside the window, my friends' laughter drifted in as they waited for me to join them. I grabbed my phone and read his message. Can't wait to see you tonight, you will be stunning. I felt a mixture of warmth and annoyance. Why was it that other people could see me while Ben had only ever chosen to look through me? Quickly, I shot back a reply, slipping my phone into my pocket as I grabbed my clutch with an anticipatory sense of dread. See you there, I typed, my heartbeat hammering in my chest. Transferring my little burst of confidence from Dennis to the mission ahead, I made my way toward the door. The cool autumn air greeted me as I stepped outside, the scent of fallen leaves and a distant bonfire capturing the moment as I joined my friends. They all gushed about how beautiful I looked, but in my ears their praises were muffled. No amount of compliments could prepare me for the confrontation I had planned for Ben. As we approached the school, I could see the sparkling decorations, the twinkling lights, the fluttering ribbons. The air was thick with excitement, but all I could feel was the chill of anticipation coursing through my veins. Clara, Amanda shouted, pulling me from my thoughts. Are you okay? You seem a bit preoccupied. I smiled tightly. I'm fine, just thinking about the dances, you know, all the drama. The entrance doors opened wide and the music blared out as we stepped inside. I squeezed my friend's hands, feeling their warmth and support, but at the same moment I could sense the icy grip of loneliness creeping in. There he was. Ben stood at the front of the gym, radiant and confident, his smile lighting up the room. He leaned casually against the wall, the usual crowd of admirers around him, completely unaware of the storm brewing beneath his charming demeanor. My heart raced as I nudged my friends forward, dragging them deeper into the throng of the students, the pulse of chatter and laughter surrounding us. I needed to look calm, collected, and most importantly, ready for what was about to happen. There's Ben, Chloe whispered, sharing a knowing glance with me. Remember your plan, Clara. Show him you are not afraid. I nodded silently, mentally rehearsing the speech I had crafted, the words you could conquer mountains if you believed enough. I watched as Ben placed his hands behind his head, laughing with a group of his friends, those carefree moments I had once longed to share with him turning into a sharp blade slicing through my heart. I will show him, I thought. I will show him the real Clara. Let's hit the dance floor, Amanda suggested brightly. The music shifted toward a slow beat, and I could tell my friends wanted to enjoy themselves, but an indelible urge to confront Ben pulled me away from their warmth. I will be right back, I just need a moment, I reassured them. Okay, but hurry back, I want to see you dance, Chloe called after me. I spun on my heel, the blue fabric of my dress twirling like a whirlwind. My stomach dipped as I found myself weaving through the crowd toward Ben. My heart raced with purpose. The closer I got, the more the walls around me seemed to coalesce, shimmering warmth fading into an icy reality as uncertainty threatened to creep back in. Just breathe, I whispered to myself, forcing my legs to speed up, just a few more steps. He stood 2 feet away, and for a fleeting moment, doubts began to spiral. What if he rejects me? What if he just laughs? But I couldn't turn back now. With finality, I reached him, clearing my throat while the laughter around him hushed on seeing my arrival. Clara, right? He drawled, a lazy smile curling his lips as he looked me over. What brings you out of hiding? I felt a sudden sharp edge of anger, but I took another deep breath, channeling that energy into the words I had rehearsed. Actually, I wanted to talk to you, Ben, I said, surprising myself with the strength in my voice. His friends exchanged looks, amused, while he merely leaned back against the wall. I find that hard to believe. You never wanted to talk to me before, he quipped, a mocking lilt edging his tone. What changed? I grew up, Ben. I'm tired of being your punching bag, your target for comments and jokes, I stated firmly, feeling the confidence surge through me. You think you're funny, don't you? Making jokes at my expense, ruining my reputation. He raised an eyebrow, surprised I was calling him out, but there was still a flicker of amusement in his eyes. You are too sensitive, Clara. It was all harmless fun, you know that. Harmless if you're not on the receiving end, right? I shot back, my voice steady despite the furious pounding in my chest. You've hurt me for too long, and I am done letting it slide. The air around us thickened, his friends oddly silent now, watching the exchange. I could sense their uncomfortableness, but I continued. You think you can just smile and charm everyone while you leave a trail of broken people behind? I won't be that person anymore. There were murmurs behind me, a whisper of disbelief echoing, and I could see glimmers of realization sparking in his eyes. You think I care? You think this is going to change anything? He scoffed, but his confidence faltered slightly. It changes everything, Ben. You think you control the narrative, but I am taking back my story. The words spilled out, raw and full of pent-up emotion. I could almost taste the sweet glitter of victory in my mouth. You are a coward for hiding behind jokes and cruel remarks. You are covering your own insecurities, and now everyone is just starting to see it. He opened his mouth to retaliate, but I pressed on. You are terrified of who you really are, and your fear drives you to make others smaller. But today I will stand tall. I don't need your approval anymore. The room was utterly still, and I could feel the weight of disbelief hanging like a heavy curtain around us. Is that supposed to scare me? He finally said, though the bravado began to slip from his words. You can't just start speaking up and expect everything to change. You are right, but I know what I will change my own narrative, and now it includes you. Remember this moment, Ben. I won't just be a spectator in my life anymore while you shine. I deserve to be just as loud, and I will be seen, I asserted, layering my voice with steel as I faced him completely. It was as if every whisper of doubt had vanished, replaced by undeniable clarity. The crowd shifted slightly, murmurs buzzing as people started gathering closer, eager to witness the unfolding drama. This is unexpected, he muttered, glancing hastily around as if looking for an escape. What do you want from me? His bravado was dimming, and in that moment I could see the cracks forming in the facade he had so carefully built. I want you to know that your words have weight, and you can choose to use them to lift people up instead of tearing them down. Use your voice wisely, because I will not allow you to control mine any longer. You think you can just order me around? He scoffed, struggling to maintain that typical detached confidence. No, I am not trying to order you. I am showing you better. And quietly, with every ounce of strength I could muster, I turned to leave, knowing that I had already won the battle. I walked away, leaving behind the whispering crowd and the astonishment flooding the air. My heart raced, pounding in my ears as I reunited with my friends, their expressions mixed with surprise and pride. Amanda wrapped an arm around my shoulder. Wow, Clara, that was amazing. You are so brave. I felt the heat rush to my cheeks as I took a moment to breathe in the victory, the strength radiating from my core. I needed to say it. I'm done with being afraid, I replied, overwhelmed with the feeling of liberation that washed over me. You walked in with fire and you left a mark, Clara, Chloe added, her eyes sparkling with admiration. The music turned up, resuming its rhythm, and I felt the warmth of camaraderie fill the space. I had found my voice, and in the cavernous space of the dance floor I had forged a new beginning within the shadows of my past. I danced with my friends under the soft glow of the lights, the world transforming from one of fear and insecurity into one of unanticipated promise. It was not just a dance, it was a release, the rhythm carrying me away from the weight of my history while the vibrant beat pulsed with hope and new possibilities. As the dance carried on, my heart felt lighter than ever, growing bolder with every beat. I had let go of the hurt, the pain Ben had caused, and I was ready to embrace a future filled with strength, laughter, and an unwavering belief in my own worth. I glanced back over my shoulder toward him, still standing in the corner, and though he shot me a glance filled with misunderstanding, I felt a flicker of triumph igniting deep within me. For the first time, I understood what it meant to truly reclaim my narrative. I didn't need his laughter, his opinions, or his approval. I had learned through the bitterness that hurt does not define a person. The dance went on, each step a reminder of my journey, punctuated by the realization that I alone held the pen to my story. Today was not just a victory, it was the beginning of something entirely new, a lesson learned that would echo for years to come.